The Class Breakfast News. The news is live on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, Ho FM 92.5 in the Volta region, Dagbon FM 102.5 in Tamale, Radio 1 92.1 in the Upper West region, Radio 4 96 in Spain. Around the world, join us on classfmonline.com. Coming up in this bulletin, police arrest 6 security guards after Adwoa Safo shooting. Meanwhile, Christo Asafo mission denies allegations and calls for full investigation.
The woman who was driving the car was Honorable Adwoa Safo, who tried to hit the gates. And I also saw a security guy who I know here.
Also coming up in this bulletin, the National Council of Teacher Parents Association backs ban on extravagant graduation ceremony in basic schools. Also, the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association opposes EPA styrofoam ban, calls for stakeholder consultation and transition period. Meanwhile, and also coming up in this bulletin, only 11 out of Ghana's 100 food warehouses are currently functional, raising concerns about the country's food shortage, capacity and long-term food security.
The operational ones, I can count them on mine. It's about 10 or 11. Almost every district has a warehouse, except that the state in which they are is nothing to write home about.
These plus many other stories coming your way shortly.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
I am Elizabeth Adrian. Welcome to Class 91.3 FM. Let's settle for the details of the news. Now, police have arrested 6 private security guards in connection with a shooting incident that left former Dome Kwabenya Member of Parliament Adwoa Safo injured at Kwabenya, according to the Ghana Police Service. The incident occurred on Saturday, June 21, during a ceremony at the residence of Mr. Tamaklo Safo Joseph, known as the Kofuna. And the police says preliminary investigation indicates that Adwoa Safo arrived at the premises and requested entry but was denied access. Armed security personnel stationed at the residence allegedly discharged firearms during the confrontation, leaving her injured. Her vehicle was also found with multiple gunshot marks. A search conducted by the police led to the retrieval of 5 pump-action guns and communication equipment. The investigations are still ongoing. Meanwhile, the Christo Asafo mission has denied claims that Sarah Adwoa Safo was shot by her brother or that the shooting originated from within the church. In a statement, the mission says the former Member of Parliament allegedly drove her vehicle into the entrance gate of the property after a church event, damaging 2 metallic gates and creating a risk to worshippers and guests. It says security personnel intervened to prevent further escalation and has called for full police investigation into the incident. Here are some eyewitness accounts of what transpired yesterday.
And I saw a Prado, a black Prado. So I thought it was my boss' car because my boss is also having the same car. So I was trying to direct some cars. There were some buses. The passengers were coming out and I saw a gun coming out from the car. And the woman who was driving the car was Honorable Adwoa Safo, who tried to hit the gates. And I also saw a security guy who I know here. But I saw her going peacefully without her. That's what I saw.
So we were directing the cars to park road, and all of a sudden we saw a car speeding towards us. So we were trying to let the person slow down so that we direct the car well. But since I was trying to slow the car down, it's like it ran towards me, so I have to leave the way. So what I saw was like it started hitting the gates almost like three times in the main entrance, and it went back to the other gates and it started hitting again. So I just saw a gunshot, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So and it came back again. And
We'll bring you more details on that story subsequently and right here on Class 91.3 FM. Let's head to the central region because investigations are underway into a building collapse at Jejiano in the Cape Coast metropolis that claims the life of two sisters after heavy rains triggered the early morning tragedy on Sunday. The victims, identified as a 12-year-old, died when a single-room building collapsed during the downpour. The Ghana National Fire Service says it received a distress call at 4:54 a.m. with firefighters from Cape Coast Metro and Regional Headquarters arriving at the scene by 5:06 a.m. Rescue team extricated all the four occupants trapped beneath the rubble and conveyed them by the National Ambulance Service to the polyclinic. The two sisters were later pronounced dead, while the two other occupants, believed to be a couple, are still receiving treatment. Preliminary investigation by the fire service indicates that the heavy rainfall compromised the structural integrity of the building, causing it to collapse. The fire service has since urged residents living in old mud houses or buildings showing signs of structural weakness to have them inspected by qualified professionals and to evacuate any structure deemed unsafe, especially during the raining season. The National Council of Teachers Parent Teachers Association has thrown its support behind the Ghana Education Service ban on extravagant graduation ceremonies in basic schools, saying the practice is shifting focus away from discipline and learning, amid concerns that such events has become increasingly commercialized and burdensome for parents. The Ghana Education Service moved to clamp down on what it described as graduation ceremony at kindergartens and primary levels has sparked nationwide debate. Then stakeholders divided over its impact on school culture and celebration. The National Council of Parent Teachers Association says it fully agrees with the policy, insisting that schools must remain center for learning, character formation, discipline, and national values rather than excessive celebrations.
The NCPT stands with the Ghana Education Service on the banning of extravagant graduations of all forms at all levels at the pre-tertiary educational level. This is not against celebration. It's about restoring purpose. As Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, the purpose of education is to develop the intellect and the moral and spiritual character of the child. Also, Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Busia warned, freedom without responsibility is a license for disaster. And our African proverbs keeps on reminding us. One of them is that a child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. The village is we parents, becomes the SHS student who disrespects teachers at the age of 17 or 18. Discipline is love with boundaries. Parents, especially fathers, let's choose discipline over decoration, character over gowns. This is how we build Ghana, one responsible citizen at a time. Thank you.
That's the General Secretary of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, Raphael Kofi Gapson. The Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association has raised concerns over the Environmental Protection Authority's announcement of a ban on the production and sale of styrofoam products effective January 1, 2027, describing the decision as premature and lacked prior stakeholder consultation. In a statement, the association said the plastic industry remains a major contributor to Ghana's economy, employing over 41,000 people directly and supporting millions more across recycling, packaging, and related sectors, adding that any abrupt ban triggers significant job losses and financial disruptions. The Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association explained that the industry has invested about 1.493 billion Ghana cedis in machineries and equipment for styrofoam production, warning that their proposed timeline of 7 months to phase out operation would amount to to an indirect closure of businesses and expose manufacturers to severe capital losses. While not opposing the principles of reducing styrofoam usage, the association argues that a minimum transaction period of at least 18 months is required, insisting that alternatives should be developed in consultation with the industry players to avoid economic shocks. It further cautioned that the ban could increase import dependence, affect ports and operations within the ECOWAS region, and place additional pressure on foreign exchange and inflation. The Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association is therefore calling for engagement with government and the EPA and has proposed a delay of the ban's implementation to January 1, 2030, as well as possible compensation should the policy be enforced earlier. A statement was signed by the president of the Plastic Manufacturers Association. We'll be engaging him on our news subsequently. Now, the Health Minister Kobina Mintah-Kando has tasked the MMDCs in the Central Region to ensure strict ownership and effective implementation of the free primary health care program, warning that its success depends on their commitment at the local level. Speaking at the official launch of the initiative, he said the policy is a flagship government intervention designed to improve access to quality basic health care, especially in underserved communities. He explained that the program will be delivered through CHIP compounds, health centers, polyclinics, and other primary facilities covering treatment of common conditions such as malaria, diarrhea, hypertension, and respiratory infections.
Everybody must be part of this intervention. But as I have already indicated, it ends at the polyclinics. So somebody will ask, what about the district hospital, the regional hospital, the teaching hospitals? That is why we use the opportunity to encourage everybody to still subscribe to the National Health Insurance. So the pre-primary health care is not coming to replace the National Health Insurance because it is not applicable at the regional hospitals or the teaching hospitals or the district hospitals. So you will need the National Health Insurance. And when we took over, we took it from 57% to 66%. What it means is that there are about 11 million people who are still not part of the National Health Insurance net. So the National Health Insurance is still relevant. Where the free primary health care will end, the National Health Insurance will begin from there. And where the National Health Insurance will also end, because it is not covering all the diseases such as the cancers. That is where the Ghana Medical Trust Fund will also begin.
Thus, the Health Minister Kobina Mintah-Kando. The National Food Buffer Stock Company says the limited number of operational warehouses is affecting its ability to purchase, store and distribute food across the country, particularly to senior high schools. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Class News, the Chief Executive of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, George Otu, described the situation as a major setback to effort to reduce pro-harvest losses and ensure a reliable food supply. He noted that although Ghana has about 100 warehouses, only 11 are fully functional, significantly limiting the company's storage capacity and its ability to support farmers and meet institutional food demands.
The small number of warehouses that we came to meet, we've been able to repair them, then put them to good use. But otherwise, the whole country, even the previous government started 88 warehouses. They are all in the system. Kwame Nkrumah also built some silos and warehouses. They are all in the state of disrepair. And when you say a warehouse is not just the building. It's food that we are going to keep for people to consume. It's food that we're going to use to feed secondary schools. You have to make sure you keep it in good condition. You have to make sure the nutritional value is maintained. You have to make sure it's wholesome before you can release it onto the market or give it to the schools.
Would you be able to share some statistics? How many warehouses do you have and how many are operational?
The operational ones, I can count them on mine. It's about 10 or 11.
Just about 11
Yes,
warehouses.
But otherwise the whole country, almost every district has a warehouse, except that the state in which they are is nothing to write home about. We need money, we need funding to to bring them up to level so we can. More than 100.
More than 100 warehouses. And just 11 out.
We have been able to use our own money to repair them.
That's the chief executive of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, George Otu. The full interview airs today on the afternoon business review at 12:30 p.m. Right after the news. And be sure to tune in. We'll bring you more details on the stories and subsequent developing runs right here on Class 91.3 FM. For more news and updates, do log on to classfmonline.com. The morning show continues with Kwame Jumo Ajiman and the team. Do stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. I am Elizabeth Edu. Good morning.
by 0-4 to Tunisia. The last game is just going to be a formality. They cannot progress on the back of the results of games played in that particular group. Saudi Arabia, after starting the competition very poorly and failing to get a result against Cabo Verde yesterday, they hit 4 past the Saudis. Mikel Oyarzabal with a brace there. Lamine Yamal also scoring before Marco Kurela also scored on the day. Belgium have now failed to win in the 2 matches that they played so far at this year's World Cup. Yesterday they were held to Iran despite having about 23 shots on target in that game, but they had a player also sent off late in that game as well. And then the team that has been making all of us proud this year's World Cup, the African side, of course, that has been making all of us proud. Cape Verde drawing 2-0 against Uruguay. The Uruguayans have drawn all the 2 matches they played so far. Same with Cabo Verde. Uruguay will play against Spain in the final round of group matches, with Cabo Verde playing against Saudi Arabia. If Cape Verde were to get anything out of that Saudi game, they get to progress and qualify to the next stage of the competition. And that's what I'm sure many fans will be rooting for and will be hoping to see them at least make it to the round of 32. So let's quickly have a look at the fixtures that are coming up before we get into how the groups are looking at. But let's get into the standings first before we look into the group. So at this point, with as many teams playing up to 2 games each in Group A, it is Mexico who are leading the log on 6 points. South Korea have 3, with Czechia on 1 and South Africa on 1. In the final round of games in this group, it will be the host Mexico who have won the 2 matches they played so far against South Korea and South Africa, coming up against Czech Republic, who would desperately need a win if they are to qualify for the next stage of the competition. In Group B, it's Canada who are 4 points, same as Switzerland. Canada drawing on match day 1 against Bosnia and hitting 6 past Qatar on match day 2. Switzerland also drawing on match day 1 against Qatar and then hitting 4 past Bosnia and Herzegovina. So that's how Group B is looking like. In Group C, there's also another group that has seen 2 matches played. Brazil defeating Haiti by 3-0 on Saturday, with Morocco also getting a 1-0 win over Scotland. Scotland also have 3, with Haiti on no point after 2 matches. So it's pretty much a straight one between Brazil and Morocco. Morocco will play against Haiti in the final round of games, with Scotland playing against Brazil in the final round of games. In Group D, the United States have won 2-2, having scored 6 in the 2 matches they played so far. They have 6 points. Australia have 3 points. Paraguay have 3 points, with Turkey on no point, which is quite surprising that they lost to Paraguay and they lost to Australia as well. In Group E, it was a last-ditch winner for the Germans in their game against the Ivorians. They have maximum points, being one of the highest scoring sides at this year's World Cup. They have scored 9 goals in the 2 matches that they played so far. The Ivorians have 3 points. Ecuador have 1 point, with Curaçao also on a single point. In Group F, it is Holland on 4, Japan on 4, Sweden on 3, with Tunisia on no points there. All of these teams have played 2 matches each, and the worrying part is that the African representative in that group, Tunisia, has failed to glitter. They have lost all the 2 matches they played so far, conceding a whopping 9 goals. They conceded 5 against Sweden and now conceded 4 against Japan. What will be the scoreline like when they play against group leaders, the Netherlands? We'll see that in the coming week. From that group, we would move on to Group G, which has African representation there. the only team in the group that has gotten a result. They defeated Uzbekistan by 3-1 on match day 1, with DR Congo holding the highly fancied Portugal to a 1-1 drawn game. And then Group L, which is of a lot of interest to many Ghanaian, is England, who currently lead a log on 3 points with a superior goal difference. Ghana also have 3 points but have a lesser goal difference. Panama have no points with Croatia on no points. And there will be many who will be looking forward to the game between Ghana and the Three Lions of England later tomorrow. So let's quickly have a look at the fixtures that are coming up. And the World Cup has loads of fixtures every single day. So I'm going to be running through that. Today being the 22nd of June, we would see Argentina play against Austria at 17 hours GMT or 5 p.m. Ghana time. So we'll be on the lookout for that. And then we'll also be seeing a game between France and Iraq. That game is going to be played at 21 hours GMT. And then there will be Norway, who will be playing against Senegal. That game will be on at exactly midnight. So you'll be looking forward to these games, and we're definitely going to be keeping you up to speed with all that's going to be happening as far as these games are concerned. Midnight. Yeah, if you can stay and see that game, you've got to find a way and still make your way to work tomorrow. The game is going to be ending somewhere around 2 a.m. thereabout. So it's going to be a tough watch for many, but we're rooting for the African teams at this World Cup, and we're hoping that they leave a lasting legacy. At this point, it's fair to say that maybe it's Tunisia who are completely out, but still very much a chance for as many of the teams. There are 10 African teams, the biggest ever at any FIFA World Cup, and as many of them will be hoping to progress at least to the next layer, which is the round of 32. And who knows, from that point, if they get some favorable draws, they could be progressing to the round of 16 and beyond. Against the Three Lions of England, in a position to get a result against a highly fancy side. To an African side.